So I want to make sure that everybody can hear me well. So if someone can't hear me, feel free to put something in the live chat to let me know that you can hear me or you can't hear me. Um, Obviously, welcome to X and O's to Joe's. My name is Gene Clemens, Coach Gene Clemens. If you haven't joined me before, if you haven't seen one of my sessions before, normally it'll be a lot of editing so that I cut out all of the drawing in between. But obviously, with me being live, you're going to see me doing all of that right now. I'm really excited. If for no other reason to just talk football. So, and obviously I'm at home like everybody else is, so it's not my normal classroom where I have a lot of space. So bear with me, but I will make sure that you can see the information or get the information as best you can. One of the things we're going to talk about today, or at least in this first session, because I'm going to have two sessions, is we're going to talk about the we're going to talk about the 50 defense. And it's interesting, especially for a lot of youth coaches. You see the 50 ran a lot. I think a lot of youth coaches feel like because most youth programs are running, that the best thing for them to do is to run the 50 defense. It also, quite frankly, is less teaching. Five having five guys on the line of scrimmage versus having to teach them how to play linebacker or defensive back is going to be advantageous. And you have to excuse my back while I draw this stuff up. But what I want to talk about is how to better utilize the 50 defense so that you can have more success on a regular basis out of it, because a 50 defense, as many of you know, tends to get a really easy to scheme. As an offensive coordinator in the past, as an offensive coach, I feel like the 50 defense a lot of times is really easy to scheme because everybody is where they are and they almost can't be anywhere else unless they're going to give up something. And so when we look at the 50, we want to make sure we're paying attention to the front. Now, a lot of mistakes that happen in the 50, in my opinion, is that these guys outside just end up being contained guys. They, especially at the youth level, these guys just end up running upfield. It's great as an offensive coordinator because we get an opportunity to take advantage of them. Rick Flair, what's up, man? We get an opportunity to take advantage of them. But as a defensive coordinator, if you're going to run a 50, even at the youth level, the first thing you should do is you should make sure that these ends are spill guys, that they are not contained guys. You want those guys to be spill. You want these guys to be spill. Well, what does spill mean? It means that we want everything that's running to bounce outside. Now, some of y'all are going, oh my gosh, like, why would I want it to bounce outside? That's where they want to go anyway. Well, obviously, at the youth level, a lot of people want to go outside, but the plays that really murder you is where they hit you quick right off tackle. And I'll tell you what I mean. So your guy's running a contain, right? So he's getting directly upfield trying to close the distance down. They run a zone. They run a zone on offense. So now you've got all of these guys blocking this way. Of course, the blue doesn't work. You got all of these guys blocking this way. Where's the natural hole for that person to cut back? When he gets the ball here and he cuts back, he's out the gate because this guy is going to be thinking about this dude. These guys are going to be looking front side because they have gap responsibilities. This guy is over here worried about number 2. He's worried about number 1. When he hits it, this is the play. This is the play that kills a lot of people when they go into 50 if they have their defensive ends in a contained concept. But if you have him in the spill concept, what happens when that guy goes down? Instead of him going up the field trying to search out a sack, instead of him going up the field, he's going to squeeze. So he's going to come now and squeeze against this, taking away that cutback lane. Because now when that guy's trying to go that way, he's squeezing and he's going to reduce this lane. And especially at the youth level, if a running back sees opposite color, he's not going to try to run at that opposite color. He's going to try to bounce it. So now instead of him getting north and south, he's going to try to come that way where the end can rally. These guys now see this. Boom, boom. Linebackers can go to their gap, now scrape over, scrape stack spot, make the play. So it's very important. I don't care what you have going on. If you're running a 50 concept, at whatever level you're running a 50 concept at, your defensive ends must be spill guys. If they're not spill guys, you are going to get gashed. The moment I see that your defensive ends are contained and not spill, especially in a 50, because remember, you've got one extra person dedicated to the line of scrimmage with the 50 front. Once I see that your defensive ends are not spill guys, that they are contained guys, I'm going to run off tackle plays at you all day. And that is, it's no diss. It's just what we need to do in order to be successful. If your guys are going this way, many times there won't even be a reason to block them. Your contained guy will never make consistent plays on things that go off tackle. And so now they're going to double team your nose, cut double team your tackle, cut your nose down, double team your tackle back to this backside linebacker. They're going to read your end, take advantage of this guy and hope that he's trying to look into the wash. Now you've got a 11 on 11 situation that doesn't play into your advantage. Now, what I'm going to show you is two things. I'm going to talk about coverage, and I'm going to talk about how to play in the box, because in the box is important, because a 50 front is not necessarily based off of exotics. You're not going to see a whole bunch of movement. You might see some movement. Someone might want to do a lot of movement. But in reality, a 50 is a bend but don't break type of front. It is built so that they have to make plays against your guys, because everybody's going to be in a position to make a play if they do their job. So it's an assignment defense. So let's take these defensive ends and make them into real defensive ends. And so I want to show you the 50 versus a lot of spread concepts, or a lot of spread formations, because that is where people think the 50 is weak. And they're right. I mean, the 50 has some issues in the spread, but you can always make up for that. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, right, in your 50 is responsibilities. Obviously, we're going to talk about the defensive line and what their responsibilities are first. So, what we have here, our nose is an A-gap player. Now, I always say two-gap. I'm a two-gap kind of guy. But I understand that there are people who are playing out there with nose guards who can't two-gap. So, I would say you always want the nose guard to go opposite the gap opposite of the back. If the nose guard goes opposite the gap of the back, especially if they're offset, now that gives them an opportunity to be there for any inside zone trap, midline type of stuff. You put him in a position to be able to make a play on anything on the A gap to the whole side. Now, if the nose has the gap opposite, the A gap opposite the back, so his responsibility is here. You're going to have one of these backs be responsible for the backside A gap. So it's really simple to me, especially if you put these guys in 20s or in 30s. That 20 meaning that he is head up the guard, but at the second level, 30 means he's outside the guard. So 2 technique, 3 technique, 20s and 30s. You make the opposite guy, the opposite linebacker, responsible for that gap. So here, this guy would be responsible for the backside A gap. Now, your tackles naturally end up being B gap guys if, and again, this is if we are one gapping. So your tackles end up being B gap defenders, and your ends end up being C gap defenders. Now, this end over the tight end right here is still a C gap defender. He is not a D gap defender. If he tries to go out here, he's naturally opened up a hole that we don't have anyone right near. We want to make sure, again, that our first responsibility is to make everything bounce. You want to be spill, you want your ends to be spill players. So they're going to engage this this tight end, and try to knock that tight end back. But their responsibility is inside in the C gap. Now, what does that mean for this linebacker? That means that this linebacker is what we call a free hitter. He doesn't have any gap responsibility. He's a free hitter. This is why this is important. Here's why this is important. Because the free hitter is the person that makes the tackle. If everybody is a stalemate, right? If everyone's a stalemate and this back is able to come here and bounce it or go there and bounce it, who should make the play? That linebacker should. That is that linebacker's responsibility. He's the free hitter. He's the only person without any responsibility. So you'll probably ask yourself, okay, well, coach, what about the D gaps? Like, what about outside when they bounce outside? That's very important. In this defense, in this coverage shell, this 2 shell, these guys have to be downhill alley players. That means that they are screaming D gap if they see that ball is coming that way. It is their job to string this thing all the way to the sideline. Now, obviously, your ends are going to chase. That's what's going to get them to spill. And that's what gives these guys time to get down here and make a tackle. So you got free hitter. And then this guy, if he tries to bounce it out this way, you've got him chasing. You've got that guy bouncing. And then we're going to make this tackle 1-2. He's got to get off that block. Obviously, he's got to get off that block. But there's no reason why this guy should ever be able to block this free safety if he's doing his job correctly. So these guys are coming down. Those are D-gap players. These guys are forced. So anytime we get any type of speed option, they're coming down to help with the pitch man. End would have quarterback, free safety, cornerback would have pitch man. Linebacker would have quarterback in any type of option situation as well. So when we're thinking about that, say we got a speed option to this side. So if we ran a speed option to this side, he's here, he's there running the speed option. You see the corner and the safety are already set up to be able to take the pitch man. We've got this end that's going to fight through this inside shoulder of this tight end. He's going for quarterback right now. If he gets washed down, obviously, these linebackers are going to be there for quarterback. Remember, this linebacker is going to step up to check his gap, and then he's going. This linebacker, he sees full flow. He's just going. So everybody is accounted for in the speed option game. That guy's coming down. So versus speed option. But you can see there's no exotics here. This is just, we're going to do our job up front. We're going to take all the gaps away. These guys are going to chase everything down. Essentially, these two linebackers, these two safeties. So anything in the run game, regardless. Now, the good thing about when you do this, when you go with a 50, is that offenses don't get an opportunity to see an open gap. They don't get the opportunity to see an open gap pre-snap. That's very important because a lot of our game planning as offensive coaches is about what we see pre-snap. So if we don't have a gap pre-snap, a lot of times that's going, especially at the youth levels where guys may not have as many plays in, it's going to befuddle. Now, if you look here, where do you attack offensively? You attack the alleys. You take your chance with your back versus the safeties. So as a defense, you already know that the alleys are where they're going to attack. That's why it's important for these ends to remember to not get ridiculously fast upfield. They can't be upfield. They have to play their responsibilities. That guy's coming out there, they're going to squeeze, and then they're going to chase that guy to the sideline. Take an angle, beat them to the spot. Chase that guy to the sideline. So we want to make sure everything is assignment sound up here. So it doesn't matter what run play happens. We have these gaps taken care of. Everybody is assignment sound. Then we should have success. Even if a guy gets beat, say if this 3 technique gets ran over, he's going to get ran over in his gap. And that's all we're really trying to do. Now, he's in his gap. This guy can make a play. He's going to look at his hole. He's going to go down. Everybody else is running to the ball. We're going to have some success. Free hitters are important. That free hitter has to be a monster. Those 2 linebackers in the 50, they can't be Rudy Poos. Those 2 linebackers in the 50, they can't be soft. They have to be heat seekers. Those have to be guys that want to have action every single play because they should be in on a tackle almost every single play. If you're a linebacker playing in the 50, you should lick your chops. I'm going to have 200 tackles this year. Of course you are. Because you should be in every single every single play because you're going to be the free hitter. Now, I'm going to talk some coverage. with you. I'm going to leave these up here because this is important. So say right now we're in this position and they wanted to um, go run. So we've got right now a cover two shell. We've got a cover two shell, but obviously with a 50, your cover two shell is missing somebody, right? Of course it is. It's missing someone. You have 4 in the shell, but you don't have 3 in the coverage. You only will have 2 in the coverage. So a cover 2 shell doesn't necessarily mean you're playing cover 2. A lot of times, a lot of times, you're going to end up playing some type of combination coverage. So I may be 2 here, I may be 2 here, but I may be 1 over here, meaning I may lock up here and this safety, this strong safety on the tight end, lock those 2 guys up and then play cover 2 on this side. So now he's hard in the flat. He's got his normal half. He's buzzing, hook the curl. He's got middle hole. So he stays flat. So now, say if they tried to run a pass concept to this side, curl flat, we're good. Fade out, we're good. Because if he tries to fade, obviously he's going to chuck him. He's going to chuck him and carry until something flashes in his area. So he's going to carry this fade, but once that out comes, he's going to break off for the out. It's this free safety's job, because he's not responsible for anything over here on the backside. It's this free safety's job to get over the top to make sure this guy is here for support. So even if he catches it, we're rallying to the tackle right there. So you get a combination coverage. You get a combination coverage that is able to be disguised, in this cover 2 shell. Again, I've got cover 2 on this side. I have man-to-man on this side. Another thing you can do is you can go with what I ended up calling cover 6, but really is a concept that we use a lot in a 3-3 stat defense, which is a 3 over 3 under concept. And I'll show you that right here. So essentially what we get is we get people who are covering areas, and we're giving up an area for the quarterback to throw the ball. But we know the area that we're giving up, so we can rally to the play. So 3 under, 3 over 3 under. If you're a 30 stat kind of guy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So with that, we'll say here, right now, tight ends here, he is the least of the 2 passing threats. So the slot and the tight end, the slot is more of a passing threat than the tight end, because the tight end is going to have to deal with our defensive end that's right over him, and it's going to get hands on him every single time. So we go 3 over. Very simple. We're in the cover 3. On the back end, 3 over. Because the passing threat is on the slot, the strong safety's actually going to come back to the deep third in the middle. Now we have our star, our hawk, and our solar. So star drops into this hole. He has hook the curl. Hawk has the hole, Solar has hooked the curl on the weak side. So he would make sure that he's looking at 2 as 2 releases. He's looking at 2. If number 2 goes vertical, he's going to carry number 2. Number 2 goes vertical, he's going to carry number 2. He's in a deep hole. Now, we know already that when we're in cover 6, this 3 over, 3 under, that we are giving up the flat. We are giving up the flat. We know it. And we're going to give up that flat because we're going to rally to the ball. If they decide they want to pass, we need to be thinking to ourselves, we're going to get to the quarterback fast enough to where all he can do is either check it down if he doesn't get flustered, or he's not going to have enough time to look for any type of holes in this secondary. The only thing he's going to find is a flat. So when they throw it to the flat, we got a corner, we got this free safety coming down, then we'll have that linebacker, we'll have the end chasing, and everybody else coming to rally. But in the immediate, if he throws it, say he runs that speed out. In the immediate, he's coming downhill. He'll see the out get thrown. Now he's coming back. This end, once he sees the ball's thrown, he's going to redirect and come back inside. So now this wide receiver, he can try to turn up field, which is what he probably should do. If I was advising him, turn up field, take your chance with the corner. Okay. If he tries to cut back, free safety's there. If he tries to dance, end is going to get to him, and then the hawk is going to be able to start coming in to get to him. So 2 different concepts, either a combination defense where we had cover 2 on this side, man on the back side, or our 3 over, 3 under look versus these types of spread concepts. Again, I apologize that, when I normally do the videos, I cut out a lot of this other stuff, like me erasing everything, but I'm trying to talk through it while still giving you everything. I want to show you another spread concept because, again, I think it's important to show the 50 versus spreads, because essentially this is what's going to happen to you when you run a 50. When you run a 50, everybody's going to just try to spread you out. I will. I ain't gonna lie about it. I come out, I see you want to run 50. You won't see more than 6 a tight end in the box most of the time. We will spread you out and take our chances with you guys in the 50. So you have to be prepared. You know what to do if they try to come out in 22 personnel or in 21 personnel. I mean, that's simple. You know exactly what to do. You've got every gap covered. You're just going to run your normal business. So let's get a 3-by-1 concept out of our offense. And I'm actually going to draw the defense and the defensive secondary in a different color so that you can see it. Well, the second and third level in a different color so that you can see it. So over here, I'll put my free safety. Here's my strong safety. Actually, sorry. With this, I would bump this guy over. So, I want to do that. So, as we can see right now, the linebackers have had to expand out, and I probably have them expanded a little too far out. He's probably going to be over number 3. Linebacker has to expand out with the 3-by-1 leaving this guy. Now, this leaves you with a 6-man box, but every gap is accounted for, right? Every gap is accounted for. So at least we know that all of our gaps inside are accounted for. 6-man box, 3x1. We know over here he's got to stay because he's got to be ready for any type of alley. He's a D gap defender. Well, how are we going to address a 3x1? Again, combination defense coverage. We can run our 2 over here. If you're looking, he stays hard. He's deep half. He's hook the curl. That guy's middle. Now this guy and this guy backside are running 1-2. So now he's got man-to-man on the backside number 1. He's going to have the back out of the backfield if he comes. So now we have that side taken care of while also still being run supportive on this side. This guy's in the coverage. So that would be a combination. We run 2 over here, run cover 1 or cover 0, man-to-man over here, depending upon what you call it in your defense. We can also go straight man. We're over here, straight man. Everybody's locked up. He's got number 2. He's got number 3. He's going to have the back out of the backfield. He's locked up. He can double if he needs to. But now he can drop to the middle in order to give you that free roamer, free hitter in the middle if that's what you need. So versus a 3x1, we can combo it. Or we can go straight man or man free to it. Now you could run a cover 3 concept to this if you like, because this guy over here is because this guy over here is there. But why would you want to run cover 3 to a 3x1? That's not necessarily my favorite thing to do. Is to run a cover 3. You could run a 2-man if you really wanted to, but this guy is so far away from there. And then who has the back? Remember, you've got 5 guys committed. So I like the combo of a 2 and man, zone to the multiple receiver side, man to the 1 receiver side, or I like the opportunity to run man free versus this, because that's going to be, well, that's a very good question. Is that Coach Correa? If you want to have your ends be the guys who peel off to cover the flat, sure. But I just know that doesn't normally happen very often, or at least not to the level that we would want to see them do it. If you're running a 50, to me, you're committing 5 guys to the line of scrimmage. And so I try to keep those 5 guys doing their jobs. Now, because these ends are spill guys, anything that goes to the outside, they're going to redirect and run to. But I don't have them in any type of coverage, because to me, once you start getting them into coverage, you're really talking more about a 34 defense than you are about a 50 defense. A 34, these guys are really outside linebackers who rush a lot, but also are coverage. But if you're talking true 50, double eagle, those guys are ends, and that's their number 1 responsibility. So in this coverage right here, if we win a combo cover 2, he's got the flat. The corner has the flat. He's hooked the curl. He's deep half. On this side, we're going to man. So he's going to be the man guy, and then he's going to have the back, which is going to take care of any type of flat responsibility coming across. Now, and he'll be obviously the middle hole. Any crossers, he'll pick those guys up as such. But I tend to stay away from the defensive ends being in coverage if we're in a true 50, because if we're in a true 50, I've got real defensive ends down there. I don't have like hybrid combination guys. If I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna run a 33. I'm gonna run a 4-2-5. I'm gonna run the 34 defense. If I want to have these guys be guys that live in two different worlds. So, great question. Great question. I don't think there's any one way to do it. So I'm not saying that that's not an option. I've just found that anytime I play against guys, teams who have their ends trying to be the guy in the flat, sometimes they get there, sometimes they don't. To me, that's an exploitable thing, and I'm trying to make their job easy. I also want them to do the least amount of thinking as possible, because obviously we know the closer that they get to this line, they probably have more of a one track mind. We'll say that. So versus 3-by-1, you can see how we would handle it. Also, if they were to go empty, again, you have to be you have to be like you got to be understandable. This is what you have. So if they go empty, I'm still going to stay with. I'm still going to think about staying with a combination coverage where I go two on this side, man on the back side, and bring this safety down for the slot. Or, or I can still go man across. Now I can't necessarily go man free because I need to make sure that this linebacker is now responsible for the quarterback. But I can go man across the board, three on three, 2-on-2. Take my chances that way. Yeah, you're very right. Like, third in a 50, I think maybe in a 50 back when people were running 50 a lot, and not just at the youth level, which is where we see a lot of 50. Um, those ends definitely would be guys that peel off. But now that's just a 34. I mean, if you look at what they're doing, that's a 34 pinch, or 34 tight, where you've got your ends now and have those guys be the peel off guy if need be. But um, like I said, I've seen it done a lot of different ways. So these safety comes down. He's guarding number two. We've got man on this side. We've got 3-on-3 man on this side, or we can combination and go two to this side, man to this side. But we have some options in coverage versus spread that's going to give you an opportunity to be successful. So we went over a good amount today. We talked about how to be fundamentally sound up front. We talked about the fact that you never want your ends to be contained guys in this. If you do, you better have some monsters that are at these linebackers. But I just think it's a recipe for disaster to have your ends be contained guys. You want your ends to be a spill guy because that's going to allow them to go east and west instead of north and south. That's going to give you a better opportunity to rally to the ball in the 50. Fundamentally sound up front, everybody doing their job, linebackers doing their jobs. Um, I didn't show you a lot of blitzes because you've already got 5 men coming. Like, obviously, if you want to have some type of blitz with those two linebackers inside, everything's probably going to just be an A gap blitz or a B gap blitz, nothing that's really like exotic, because that's not what the 50 is built for. So we talked about being sound in the run game. We talked about who's going to cover whom in a option situation. We talked about coverage. I showed you coverage versus three different spread type of formations versus the tight end and the slot versus 3-by-1 and versus empty. We talked about our combo coverage, our two and a man. We talked about man free. We talked about being able to go 3 over, 3 under. And we talked about how to be obviously straight man if we need to be at times. So a lot of information. 40 minutes past. It's almost time for my 11 o'clock midline talk, on which I'm really excited about. So come back and join me. I'll be posting that link here soon. Come back and join me at 11 o'clock for my midline talk, pistol midline. I believe in it. I'm a proponent of it. But for the 50 front, that's all I've got today. So for X and O's and Joe's, I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Y'all have a good one. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Oh, as always, like, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, 80% of the people who watch our videos are people who 80% of the guys who watch our videos are people who are not subscribed to our channel. So please subscribe to the channel. The goal is to be at 1,000. We still got a little ways to go, and so we want to keep on trying to boost those subscribers. We know that you guys are out there, and all you got to do is hit a button. So thank you again for tuning in. For X and O's and Joe's, this will be up all over, all the places I normally put things. But for X and O's and Joe's, I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Y'all have a great day.